Welcome back to Take Two Podcast specialty episode for our Patreon subscriber, Mr. Shai Korman. Here's the deal, guys. If you're a Patreon subscriber, patreon.com, Take Two Podcasts, as low as $1 a month, that starts you on different tier levels. 1, 5, 10, 15, all the way up with 4 different tier levels that we have right now. And if you reach certain ones, certain levels of fandom, you get to make us do whatever the hell you want. And anything in the world that Shai could have chosen to do, he said, I'm going to make these boys watch the movie Cats. So we said, okay, could have been worse, or could it have? Anyway, I'm Brian, joined by Tony. Tony, what's going on?
We had to watch. I read a poem from 1939. Was that not what we were doing? Oh no, I'm ill prepared for tonight. No, I'm kidding. I already talked with Mr. Mistopheles. He gave me a rum tum tugger. I'm ready to go.
With that being said, let's bring in arguably our number one fan of Take Two Podcast, a patron and an actual real life friend too. So this could be a little interesting. The reason for this episode is because of him. And let me try this, all right? Shai Korman of Friday Night Movie Pod, also known as Pancake for Table. Shai Korman, what's up, brother?
Oh, it is a pleasure to be here. That wasn't quite the emotional peak of Jennifer Hudson's brilliant rendition of Memory, but I do appreciate the musical serenade. It is great to be here with you guys.
Well, welcome. And it is a shame that we had to wait, an hour and 40 minutes to hear that great rendition of that song that you're referring to. Before we get going, Shai, I want to know, what would your name be if you were part of the Cats musical?
Oh, I mean, it would have to be like Pancakeophiles or something.
There you go. All right, I like it. There you go. Name of the episode, Pancakeophiles. I like it.
That's pretty solid. You spell that. Hang on. All right, here's the shtick. I already mentioned it in the open, is that, Shai got to choose something for us to watch. Tony and I did our diligence. Honestly, this should have happened probably about 2 months ago, but I dragged my feet. Totally my fault. But here we are. We're going to break down the 2019 film of Cats. Shai is... He doesn't hide the fact that he loves this movie.
I am a Cats super fan.
Now, a little history, though. You've seen it theatrically as well, and that's where your love for it started, right?
It is the first Broadway. It is the first Broadway show that I saw. I was about 11 years old. My parents took us, myself and the sisters, the co-hosts of Friday Night Movie, to see it at the Winter Garden Theater in New York City.
Nice.
And it was a life-changing moment.
Yeah.
And I've seen it since then a number of times live, and I'm all in on this movie, although I'm happy to talk about the flaws of the movie.
Sure.
But I love it.
Well, and I think therein lies the initial problem right off the bat with me and Brian, and why our take is going to be different than yours. It's just we don't have that nostalgia. We don't have the love for it to go off of to begin with. I don't think you saw it theatrically either, Brian, right? This is first time seeing this at all was the movie.
Yeah.
And I did it as a quarantine project back in April. We sat down and did a family watch together. Me, the kids, we had my niece living with us. We all sat down and watched it, and I actually live tweeted it. So I pulled up my live tweets just so I could remember my initial reaction back in April. So this should be fun to look at.
Now, did the kids, you watch terrifying horror movies with your kids, Tony?
Sure.
Did
this was scarier, if that's what you were asking.
I was going to ask, did they like this more or less?
Honestly, still, I will give it one credit. Still to this day, I will hear my kids sing Mr. Mistopheles every once in a while.
Because that song is rad.
So I will give it, that's my first, best part of the movie that I will give, a pro to, is that one song seems to elevate more than the other ones and is like a little earworm in my whole family. So they still sing it.
And I would add the decisions that Tom Hooper made and how to portray the character of Mistopheles and the way they put together the arrangement and the performance and where that fit in the character arc of Mistopheles is far more powerful than the original play. And so as a fan, it makes me happy that you love that song, because it is the greatest hit probably of the whole play. Forget Memory. It's all about Mr. Mistopheles. But they really did infuse an arc for Mr. Mistopheles that you never see when you watch the play. The play is like Cirque du Soleil, but way better.
Okay, and that's one of the things I wanted to get to tonight too, was having that past of it and seeing it theatrically, kind of do like a pros and cons of the things that they changed from the theatrical presentation to the movie. Because was Taylor Swift's character was she even part of or was that a new character for the movie?
Bomb Ballerina is absolutely one of the main lead cats. There's like 5 or 6 that are in almost every number, either as leads or as dancers. And think of them, they're like the people in their 30s or 40s, maybe younger, I don't know, but they're like the middle-aged grown-ups, but not the super old grown-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And Bomb Ballerina is actually a hero, and who possibly has some sort of history with Rum Tum Tugger in the play. And the McCavity song has a totally different meaning in the play than in the movie. I thought Taylor Swift was great in that role, and they did a lovely job with it. My disappointment in that is that Bomb Ballerina is supposed to be really one of the heroic characters, and they kind of made her a henchman. But they shifted the character of Bomb Ballerina more so to Cassandra. There's one of the main cats, female cats, played by a black woman. The actress's name escapes me right now. That's more what you would see the Bomb Ballerina character as, and I thought she was phenomenal. So it didn't hurt the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people that was part of their excitement going in was having Taylor Swift be involved, and for me, I thought like she was underused. I was like, oh, that's it? We're really only getting her for like one number, really? I mean, and that's basically what the whole movie is a series of cats introducing themselves via song, which is, I don't know, batshit insane to an outside viewer who has no background into it.
Absolutely. And I will say this, the movie has a heck of a lot more story and made some decisions to change the original story than what you see in the play. And so for fans like myself and my sisters who loved it, we thought this was like a really fun take, and it gave us more to play with, particularly with the way Victoria, played by Francesca Hayward, which we can get into, and Mustafa.
She's the shining star of the movie. I mean, she should be the only one that really goes on and actually elevates from this experience.
She was incredible. She was incredible. And that role is always played by the best ballerina, right? The way Cats is cast, each cat represents a different type of dancer or singer. And the level of physicality needed to perform that show is off the chart. So as a kid, I saw that play, and then every time I saw a Broadway show afterwards, I was like, wait a minute, how come these people can't do flips and sing like opera singers? Well, Cats have different roles, and Victoria's character in the play, the ballerina part is so hard that they almost never have that person sing. I mean, they don't have that person really sing or sing a solo. So Francesca Hayward, not only I thought did an unbelievable job, as you'd expect her as a top ballerina, but I think that her singing of Beautiful Ghosts, the song that Taylor Swift wrote with Andrew Lloyd Webber, was the emotional high point of the movie. And I've always been bummed that Universal pulled it from Oscar consideration, because I think that is something that got swept away in what I really thought was, I don't mind if people hate it. Like, I can joke about the movie too. I mean, there's a lot of funny stuff that goes on in that movie that's nuts.
Buttholes.
I mean, the butthole. What about James Corden just like eating garbage, like eating all of that garbage, right? But
because Rebel Wilson, was she eating cockroaches with kid faces or whatever the hell? I mean,
yeah, she was eating
drugs actually when we watched.
Totally insane. And that, by the way, not in the play. She's not devouring cockroaches.
Oh my goodness.
But I think, but to me, that the emotional piece, Victoria's, I think you hit on it well, really, Tony. Victoria's piece of the movie is really strong.
Okay. Yeah. Now it sounds like you're pro Hooper. I know he won a Razzie for this. So how do you feel on that? Are you pro Hooper on it? Again, the guy's an Oscar winner, and then to fall to a Razzie winner for this movie is quite a slope to take in a career. So
I love Les Mis. I loved what he did with Les Mis, and there's a connection here. I loved what he did with Les Mis, choosing to do those close-ups and choosing to have the actors sing live with music being played live in their ears. And the mistake he made with Cats, that I think was his big fail, is that he should have taken that approach with the physicality and the dancing and the singing of Cats. Because part of what makes Cats breathtaking when you see it in person, if you allow yourself, it's like sitting front row to the most amazing Cirque du Soleil or martial arts show, whatever you want to say. Okay. If I were to film it, I would have gone as practical as possible and blown people's minds with what those folks have to do. Because there's those moments when they're rotating the camera around Francesca Hayward, and you're watching every muscle in her body work and act. and that part was really strong. The CGI was interesting, but that to me, he blew it with that. He shouldn't have gone that way.
I think it was distracting is the problem. I think it looked too clean, too like cartoonish almost.
Sure.
I would have rather just had you do, costuming or whatever instead. And I think it may have played better. And I think that's the majority of people who felt that way. Brian, you're being kind of quiet over there. You're the one who probably watched it the most recent. What's your take on all this that we're talking about here?
No, you guys are hitting nails on heads. For Hooper, I remember he took some flack from the Broadway community for his close-ups in Les Mis. So I'm wondering if he, in the back of his own mind, was trying to retcon that a little bit. Like, let me zoom out a little bit. Let me use some CGI. Let me kind of make it more fantastical without the Cirque du Soleil.
Jellicle,
So
I think is what you're going for. Jellicle.
I'm sorry, Jellicle, exactly. Is Hooper the third or fourth Oscar and Razzie both winner that we have?
Yeah, it's happened multiple times for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because he won for King's Speech.
Which I think, by the way, is a lovely but very overrated movie.
Yes, I totally
I won't
agree
argue.
with you. And actually, I think his work on Les Mis is good, but the idea of them singing on screen like that went a little awry for him, and that's why people don't necessarily universally love that movie either, because Russell Crowe is kind of panned for his singing in that movie in particular. So
Russell Crowe's
there's kind of
neck
a
and neck.
love-hate level in that movie.
Russell Crowe's neck and neck with Pierce Brosnan and Mamma Mia.
A nonstop singing musical on film never truly plays well as it does on stage. That's a performance that is so much better to go and immerse yourself with on stage. And I think that's where Les Mis may have failed. The other thing that was sticking out to me with this film, just, the heavyweights that you actually did add to this cast, a la what they did with Les Mis. Also, Dench is an Oscar winner, McKellen, multiple nominees, Swift and Derulo with their Grammy Awards. You just had all these big heavy hitters. Hudson. I glazed over Hudson as well.
I was so mad at Idris Elba when he did this to me. I was like, why did you do this to me? Don't be part of this movie.
Oh, I loved it.
He's Black Superman. Haven't you heard, Shai? We don't need him doing this. Come on.
When he was first of all, so McCavity has been costumed in a lot of different ways, but usually he's more of like a Rum Tum Tugger, like big hair, almost like an Axl Rose type of character with like scars all over him. I loved the way they costumed him with the jacket and the hat and him popping up in and out. And they actually,
I think he did look the coolest out of any of them.
Sure. And then when they made him naked, I was just like, what the hell is happening here? Yeah. Naked. That was the strangest. So I love this movie.
Well, some of the cats, it seemed like they wore clothes. I didn't get it. I was confused by that because didn't Rebel Wilson take her fur off at one point or something?
Well, there's that character. So the Gumby cat, the shtick about the Gumby cat is that she's sort of supposed to be this more lounging around cat, and then in the play she reveals she's actually this flapper. Now, as I've heard many folks say, the How Did This Get Made guys said it recently, and they're the funniest people on the planet.
Ouch.
Cats wearing a coat of fur is like humans wearing coats of skin.
Yeah. It's equivalent to Leatherface.
Yeah. But like Judi Dench, see, so there's there's a huge difference between Judi Dench and Ian McKellen. They sold it, and like the true professionals they are, they have not trashed the role really. They've made some funny comments and stuff like that, but they haven't sort of tried to save face. Ian McKellen licked milk out of a saucer. He knew what he was doing, right?
Sure.
I found it really distasteful that James Corden has sort of disavowed it, and there's that TMZ shot of him saying, I haven't seen the movie, I hear it's terrible. I'm like, he got directions, which was lay down face first in this garbage and eat garbage. And he was like, now he's complaining? Like, don't do the movie if you don't want to do the movie.
There's a lot of hatred for Corden, I think, anyways, and especially in these kind of projects, because I see the same thing right now with him being involved in Prom. And people are like, oh, God, more James Corden singing. So I think he's one of those guys that's just like, some people hate him for it and some people don't, and he's trying to embrace it and push away from this, I guess.
I'm a Corden defender, and this was a disappointment for me. I was bummed. I was hoping he would at least come out as one of the positives, but it's a shame, though, to your point, Shai, that he's disavowing. It's like, buddy, just kind of own it. You've done sillier shticks. Why not at least just own it and run with it and have a good time? So that's a good point.
So Shai, I want to give you a couple of my quick tweets. I'm not going to read everything to you, but one of my tweets here was that I think the better version of this was made in the 80s when I saw Ben Vereen and Zoobilee Zoo. Are you familiar with the Zoobilee Zoo at all?
I am not familiar with that, but Ben Vereen's a brilliant performer.
Zoobilee Zoo used to be like a kids' TV show when I was little. Maybe you didn't get it in Canada or whatever. I don't know, but
Probably
look
not.
up Zoobilee Zoo and especially Ben Vereen, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So, and then I also said I was distracted by the fact that I thought Mistopheles was the lead singer of Panic at the Disco, Brendan Urie.
So yeah, I mean, Mistopheles in the play, he pops up twice. Like, oh, not twice. I mean, he's in it, but he's not really in it that much. But there's this big moment, which is the big song. But he's this very almost even asexual type of character. A lot of the characters are very sexual with each other. Rum Tum Tugger, particularly with the females.
The name says it all.
But yeah, but in this, I like the kind of not teenage dirtbag, but it was like he was your Revenge of the Nerds audience avatar type of character going on his little hero's journey, which was a very interesting move for that character. And I thought that Laurie Davidson, who played him, I in general, I thought the Broadway performers or the stage performers were the best part of this movie. And I feel like it's a bummer that they get overlooked. I really appreciate what you said about Francesca Hayward. Like all these other folks got up.
No, yeah, I was gonna say she definitely stood out for me, and that, like I said, is a con or a pro of the movie. A lot of cons, but she was one of the pros, and I hope to see her do more because I thought she showed promise as an actor, even. So why not?
Sure.
Brian, what do you think? I mean, you just saw her.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Like I said, you guys, I'm along for the ride here because you're both. It's funny, Shai. Listening to you talk sells this movie. You're doing a phenomenal job of selling this movie. I mean, this thing is 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, 53 audience score, which must be all the reviews coming from Friday Night Movie Pod, boosting it that high. The meta score is at like 32. I think IMDb is like 2 point something. But the way you listen to, and it's not even coming out passionately, you're just actually breaking down scene by scene, actor by actor, and it is selling it in a positive way. The stage people, you could tell, who was there for the stage. You could tell who, Rebel Wilson and Corden, they were disappointed, but Corden kind of bucks the trend a little bit because he, came up through Broadway system as well. Box office talk, little box office made 27 million here in the States.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it was the trailer. I think a lot of people saw the trailer and they were like, what the actual fuck? And I think it is people like you and I, Brian, who had no history with it, who were like, nah, that automatically turned us off.
I will. What did you guys think of I thought that the reactions of like which hip writer could write the more funny, mean things about it bordered on like just straight up cyberbullying. Like it was uncreative. Like I've seen people review much worse movies and tease things out of them, but the gleeful trashing of this movie that seemed to be okay, it was almost like people were getting off this like repressed anger. Oh, we're allowed to hate and make fun of this.
It was definitely piling on, yeah. And for me, like when I saw it, we made fun of it on our show. So I mean, I guess we're part of that problem you're talking about. But at the time, I was like, I automatically made my judgment. I was like, I'm not going to see this in the theater, but I do need to watch this because this looks like something I want to talk about and dissect. So I knew I was still going to watch it. Just for me, it was automatically off the shelf as a go to see it in the theater kind of thing.
I'm glad we watched it. I'm actually glad that we actually got around to seeing it. I'm glad that I own it now, actually, Shai, because
talk about that.
That's a buy.
I wound up buying. No, the horrible timing here. I had goofed up and delayed this too long, and then the one night I was like, I got to do this. So, we owe the guy and want to do it regardless. So I was like, there's only $15, $14.99 was available. I was like, fine, I'll buy it. I watched it. That was Thursday. Friday night, HBO, big announcement. Cats on HBO for free. Here you go. The next day, Shai. The next day, I was like, I just got tum-tuggered.
I predict, and it's already happened, but I predict cult movie Rocky Horror status for this.
Okay,
I can see it. Yeah,
I gotta go to one of those crazy screenings at some point because when you see it live, the last time I saw it, I took my sister Becky and my co-host of the Gold Nerds podcast, Lons. We went to LA and we drove down to Costa Mesa and we sat front row to see it because Lons is a big Taylor Swift fan, so we wanted to get her ready for it. And you just gotta surrender to the flow. You gotta surrender to the wonder of this. Again, people go to pay thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars to see Cirque du Soleil. I saw the first Cirque du Soleil in Montreal when I was a kid. I still don't understand it, and I think it's garbage.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It is just a lot of flipping around for nonsense. Yeah, I don't know. So let's shift away a little bit to songs. Maybe we already kind of talked about Memory. We talked about Mistopheles. Are there any other songs that jump out for you, Brian, being a first-time watcher, besides maybe those two we've kind of already talked about? Anything else?
Sorry, I hate to repeat it, but yeah, those two. Well, so the Stopfleas was great. I thought it was fantastic, and that part I actually enjoyed, and actually kind of paused and took notice. I felt that the memory actually, Hudson was great, but I don't know. Maybe I built it up in my head as like, all right, this is going to be this big, humongous, curtain dropping moment, and it was kind of like, all right, that was it. She was great. I already kind of knew she was a great singer, but then kind of whimpered away. Was it? Did it
No,
hit
she
as
floated
well?
away in a hot air balloon. Actually, she was Jellicle. I think
It's valid. That's valid. Shy for someone who had already like, did that hit as much as it does on stage?
She's incredible. It's a great moment. I've never been a Memory guy, and Memory is the random extra song. Like that's Andrew Lloyd Webber's ballad he wrote for the play, so it's not even part of the Cats stuff. So I always love to see the physicality of who hits that note, and Jennifer Hudson again, as good or great or better than anyone who's ever done it. But that's not for me like a favorite song. To me, there's a song at the end called or towards the end where they're the addressing of cats. It's the finale that just every single time it gets me, and especially the tongue-in-cheek moment where they say a cat is not a dog, right? Like there are these little details that are to me just very funny and charming. The other thing is I think Skimbleshanks, the Railway Cat, very divisive. My wife, I think, hates Skimbleshanks. And that one, talk about like people also another thing people obsessed with, the scale of this movie is incorrect. I'm like, who cares?
I
There's singing cat people.
Problem with that. I did have a problem with that because I feel like there were multiple scenes. I was like, where, like, what? This doesn't make sense. Why are they so big next to these statues at the end? And they're, I don't know. It didn't make sense.
Skimbleshanks is the one though that breaks that shatters any sense of it, right? Because they're on the train tracks at some point, right? Like, but that song and the kind of stomp interpretation of that song was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, things like that just were distracting to me, I guess, at the end of the day. Just like I said with the effects, the idea of making it so polished, so CGI. Except for no buttholes, no Derulo dick, things like that they edited out.
So on the subject of music, though, my biggest criticism of the film, and my sister Becky, who I saw it with, saying the film mix versus the soundtrack. The film mix is, and I'm quoting my sister, is self-conscious. They held back, particularly on Rum Tum Tugger. Rum Tum Tugger is this ripping funk song. It's got great guitar licks. It's got some cool organ. And the mix that's in the movie is really just like timid. Again, this is a scene where they're going to have the cats all slurp milk off of each other. And they bury the mix of the song. The album version, like the actual soundtrack version, sounds like a really properly mixed song, and it's much better. And that's Brian, kind of true throughout the play, the film.
Now, Brian, did you watch it with your daughter as well, or just you and the wife, or what was your experience?
Me alone, a glass of milk, and my thoughts. Was it?
A saucer, you mean?
Yes. Nah, I watched it by myself. The wife is a hard pass, and I don't even. Well, no, my daughter's a huge Taylor Swift fan, so she does know about it, but she hasn't shown interest. Now that we own it, we might as well. I'm probably going to get a second viewing.
Yeah, we watched it as like a family with the kids and stuff, and there were definitely some cringe moments where I was like, I don't know if I should be watching with the kids. Like you said, Shai, a little sexual stuff that they really work in here that was just strange, and I don't know if it went over the kids'
lifts
heads
her leg. Iconic, but really weird.
All right, folks, we're going to wrap this up. Shai, you're amazing. You're fantastic. I want to put you on the spot right now because you host two podcasts, right? You have the Friday Night Movie Pod, which is where we originally met you from, but then you have the Goldbergs Pod.
The Gold Nerds. The Gold
Nerds, correct. Okay, you somehow magically find your way onto the Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show. And he was like, hey, I've got Shai here. He's coming out, and he's the host of a podcast. What's the name of your one podcast, Shai? Which one would you say?
It's got to be Friday Night Movie. Friday Night Movie I created with my sisters. That's our labor of love. I love the Goldbergs and I love the Gold Nerds. The Gold Nerds, I was very lucky, was passed. The baton was passed to me into lawns from the creators, Ash and Joe. But Friday Night Movie is my heart, and it's this incredible love letter to our children that we've created. So that's the one.
That was a better answer than I was expecting. That was fantastic. Again, guys, patreon.com. Patreon.com/Take Two Podcast. That's where you can jump on. You can do just like Shai, as low as $1 a month. and we got all sorts of goodies and exclusive content in there, so you can do just fun episodes like we just did here. This actually was entertaining. I was glad that we could do that. Tony, you want to take us out of here? Look like you got a couple more questions before we bounce.
No, I was just going to say, and I think we still owe Shai at least one more of these episodes, so there may be one still to come on the feed. Look out for that.
Now that one, I'm open to anything. I mean, this was one I really wanted because this wasn't to punish you guys. I do love talking about this movie, and I like at least doing my best to like walk away with people being like, okay, I didn't like this movie, but oh yeah, there's some good points. I think I like opening minds about this movie, and I love you guys. I love this show. I love all your takes, even the ones I don't agree with. I mean, I watched Watchmen because of you, and I think that's one of the best shows ever made.
Yeah.
We did a whole special
your dissection of it. It was really good. So I'm glad that kind of worked both ways for us. And yeah, we love your show as well. We love the sisters. We love you. We're so glad we got to know you. We're glad for your support on Patreon, and we'll definitely have you back and do this again. And if anything, guys, I think he kind of improved our thoughts on it.
Sure.
And maybe you can give it a shot yourself. Like you said, it's available on HBO now, or you could let Brian have him borrow his copy.
Come on over. Yeah.
But yeah, maybe give it a second shot, or at least just watch it and go for the ride. I think is the thing we take from it at the end of the day. It's kind of fun, and I did enjoy my time with it at the end of the day. It's an awful thing you can't look away from.
So I do have to just bestow on Tony an award from our show. It's called an I Told You show. And you do get the I Told You show for Watchmen, and therefore you get to be called a genius. So you are a genius.
Nice.
An I Told You show from the Friday Night Movie family is bestowed on Tony.
Thank you.
I'm trying to earn one for Ted Lasso. Did I earn one for Ted Lasso yet?
A lot of people were in line recommending Ted Lasso to me specifically, but you do get credit now, as been told to me that you've been on that from the beginning.
That's fine.
So you are deeply honored.
I'll take it.
But there were a couple of very specific people who get the I Told You show for that.
And if you guys reach out to us and let us know if we've swayed your opinion, if you go and watch Cats based on this episode, maybe we'll get an I Told You movie, whatever. I don't know what you want to call it.
It's always an I Told You show, even if it's a movie.
Oh, okay. Shai, real quick, your socials.
At Pancake and the number 4 table on Twitter and Instagram.
For our specialty episode, thanks to Patreon and thanks to Shai and his amazing Friday Night Movie Pod show. This has our breakdown of Cats, the movie. Have a great night, everybody.